Phoenix from Goblin. Maybe that has there's a reason behind that.
All right, let's go into map number 1 here. Jaganatha starting in the top right-hand side, playing as the red Protoss. It is Gerald.
Wait, did you see Gerald? Isn't Gerald in the bottom left?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
You know what it is as well, though, right? My scoreboard was the wrong way around. Like, you can control like the swap in. I was just like, at first I was like nodding, and I was like, oh wait, what? Bottom left. Our blue Protoss is Gerald.
And Goblin in the top right, yeah. Gerald has a big apartment.
Man,
wait, what is this?
This has been a thing that we've asked him about before. Apparently, he just lives in the loft of a house or so. Yeah, his room. Some say his room gets bigger every time he comes on camera, and honestly, I would not disagree because it does genuinely seem to get like his bed seems smaller than last time. In the background, it's even further away.
It's like a green screen. He's trolling us. He's making it smaller like every time or something.
He's just adding in a few floorboards every time he plays.
It's so funny too, because like all of us, you know, we're like in like decently sized room or like small rooms. We look like we're in closets and stuff, and then this guy is like in a castle over here. Like...
Yeah. I mean, in comparison to Goblin, he actually does look like he might be in a closet.
Dude, that even a 29 square meter. Like I see this apartment of Gerald. I'm like, what is this? Like this is like 4 times my whole apartment. Just this room alone. Alright, let's see those openers.
Nice space.
Double Stalker on Goblin's side, double Stalker on Gerald's side.
Yeah.
Talking about.
Nice standard openings, really, right? Couple Stalkers can transition into maybe poking across the map and try and deal some damage, but so often as well just goes into a couple of sentries after this, get those hallucinations up. I think you mentioned it there in the pregame, right? This idea of just getting information and setting up to gather information with those sentries. And that just allows you to expand somewhat safely and to get into that mid-game without really having too many problems. They're both actually going to drop down a Stargate. I was going to say Curveball from one of them, but Curveball from both. So a Stargate from each before we expand.
Goblin is really known for his Stargate, and you would expect no less from the so-called or nicknamed Son of Fraudy, right? Like he loves going for Stargate so often. He's extremely good at it. Gerald, knowing that, could we maybe have a Phoenix versus Phoenix scenario? I feel like I haven't seen that in forever. It almost feels like it's just completely out of the meta. Like nowadays, people would just prefer mixing in some Oracles for harassment, maybe some Void Race if you have to defend or go for an offense of your own eventually.
It's possible. I think a lot of it nowadays is obviously you don't necessarily know that it's a Stargate on either side of the map. In this case, Gerald didn't get the scout under the fact it was a Stargate. Goblin didn't get the scout, so I would imagine we don't get Phoenix versus Phoenix, but we have seen a couple Phoenix versus Phoenix games starting to come around. I think SOS Down and GSL was maybe the most prominent example. So it has been out of the meta, but it's also taken like a step back in the meta. So that's kind of fun. Like I say, in this game, probably not, just because neither of them know that it's a Stargate from the other guy.
Yeah, Gerald took a bit of a corner there because he skipped units 3 and 4. So there's 4 Stalkers against these 2. The shield battery is almost out of energy entirely. What is he doing? Why is he not warping units? Finally he is, but that got dangerous for a second.
And now he's supply blocked until the Nexus is done, which I guess isn't going to affect him too badly because the Nexus will be just a few more moments. So, yeah, I mean, he's still in some trouble, though, with that battery out of energy. I mean, we're on the verge of maybe needing a super battery, and the stasis in the main Goblin gets a major amount of damage done.
Oh my God.
On the other side of the map, Gerald's Oracle does not do anything. It gets turned around. It gets 1 probe kill. So that's a major difference between the 2 of them so far.
Gerald's income just fell to 330 against around 1,000 of Goblin. This is terrible. He lost so much minerals here. And now he has to just make sure he can defend against the Stalkers, and then he can start thinking about whether he wants to counterattack or not. But Goblin's already going into Blink Stalkers.
The one thing that I would say as well, though, is that Goblin is down by like 6 workers. So while this was good for him, eventually Gerald is going to come out into a better worker position. And then the question is going to be, is that faster Twilight Council and the faster Blink going to be something that Goblin can utilize to take advantage of, you know, having a better army while he might still be behind on workers? So a few questions. Gerald has definitely been focused at least on just pumping out probes. So that's one thing we can look at as a big positive for him.
Yeah, the oracles, honestly, they rarely do damage. Everybody's really always ready with the shield batteries and everything. I haven't seen an oracle in mirror do like a lot of damage in a while. Like, you know, both players open with an oracle here. Only one probe on each side has died. So definitely doing a good job with the defense. And you need to make sure you're on top of that. I mean, I remember some games where players just fell to the initial aggression, which you're supposed to easily defend. I think it was Stefano in Nation Wars a while back. Like, he got attacked by the initial DT prism, and he was just completely not ready for the DTs and died, even though it's supposed to be our console at the time attacking. Just didn't even have a spore.
Yeah. It's kind of funky that we get a Void Ray out from Gerald. He was obviously feeling a bit of pressure, right? And makes sense with what we saw. But that's now a Void Ray, which, while it's still a nice unit to have, it's not something which transitions well later in the game unless you really build a bunch of Void Rays, which he obviously does not want to do. He wants to play +1 Blink Stalkers. So that's something to watch out for. Gerald does have a faster +1, but not too major of a difference. So
okay, Michael.
Shouldn't matter too much.
He's gonna lose it. Very unfortunate.
I mean, that's really good, though.
Void Rays are like barbecue sauce, man. You can just add them to everything. They're always good. Just make one, and you're good.
Just doing one is good, but I mean, I don't know how to expand on this. I don't disagree, though. I mean, I would put barbecue sauce on my Void Rays. I don't know. Okay, I have no idea what I'm talking about anymore. My words are struggling today, man. I don't know what it is. I'm just like, I can't throw it a break. I can't talk about barbecue sauce and Void Rays. I got no idea what I'm doing.
Gerald with the way earlier third here. It only now starts for Goblin, whereas it's already almost fully mining for... Okay, not quite fully mining, but it's already transferred probes. Get it Gerald on the other side, so I think he should be able to identify how much earlier, and usually that translates into a healthy supply lead later on if you're on top of your production, which he should be. So perhaps the timing down the line, but now Goblin looking for some damage himself. Blink is about to finish for Gerald.
Yeah, and use that blink as well. That was Goblin's timing, just having blink versus no blink, and he will use it to try and... When he gets a few probes, he's going to take a position on the third base, but now he blinked over here, so okay, blink's back off cooldown. We are going to start fighting, but Gerald has that +1 advantage, so that faster forge is now going to shine, and Goblin is realizing I just cannot stick around here. His closest warp in is off to that right-hand side as well, so it's a little far away. Something else to just consider when we think about the fact Gerald can walk more or less straight into that fight, so... Goblin's still going for this, though, as his own +1 is done. He needs to be careful if he blinks forward right now. There's a stasis, what I think he just saw it last second, and he sets it off with the blink micro. Wow. Nicely handled.
And he even got out as well here. Goblin really going for this, though. He hasn't been making walkers very consistently. Gerald, despite losing 8 walkers, was still ahead on the walker count. And now he's going for it himself, but maybe overextending here into the offensive pylon of Goblin, which still warps in very quickly thanks to that gateway that's there, too.
Yeah, the fact that there is a gateway here definitely helps. Goblin realizing a little bit of what's up. He started charge, and now he'll start +2, which I do like. So it's going to swing from Gerald having some of the upgrade timings in his favor, or at least that +1 upgrade in his favor. It's now going to be Goblin with that in his favor. So as long as he doesn't take damages, yeah, this is going to be weird because now Gerald's out of position and Goblin could dive in for some damage. He's waiting, and now he's going to go.
He's so far away. I think he has to recall, but okay, he does. But these stalkers can still find a lot of damage. I think Goblin can just get out, or he can blink in, kill a lot, and then maybe recall. But I think he's going to choose to get out the safe way here. And you cannot even chase. That's the thing.
Yep, I mean, it's good because it's just free damage, right? If you go further in, you're maybe going to actually start losing stalkers, and that's just when it gets a little bit kind of like, well, was it really worth it? At this point, it was absolutely worth it. No matter what else happens, you know, you get in, you kill some stuff, you get out, brilliant. It's just, you know, that's always going to help you, so... I like the patience, not the, you know, no urgency to get further damage done. Doesn't feel like he has to force the issue or anything. As our stalkers. Goblin around here. Just see the stalkers of Goblin coming down and looking to try and grab a kill. Gerald is going to have a surround on this.
Gerald is reacting very slowly here because Goblin's so deep. I would have expected Gerald to pounce on him to really punish the stalkers, but he's going around with some of his stalkers. Maybe some missed movements. He's forgetting a part of his army.
Maybe he wanted to stop the blink out that happened last time, but I think Goblin was always going to recall this time. And most importantly, he just killed the Forge, so he stops +2 attack. So that upgrade lead that we were talking about is now just going to expand even further in favor of Goblin.
Goblin went for a cannon per mineral line, so I think perhaps he was really worried about the potential for a Dark Shrine in DTs. And like usually that tells me that he probably faced Gerald doing this on ladder or like recently in one of their match, and he's like, all right, not again. I'll
Gerald
be ready
loves
this time.
DTs. Like Gerald is one of the players who actually goes Dark Shrine before he goes for a lot of other tech a lot of the time. Kind of like this. Like this is a later version because it's been very Stalker focused, but it's Dark Shrine before we see too much interest in like going into Robo Bay and Disruptors, etc. Whereas a lot of people would add that in a little bit later in the game instead.
Goblin actually has 2 observers out on the map. One is with his army and one is like towards the center. But I think if you're playing Dark Templars, I mean, usually you want to start like, sending them to multiple bases. You'd probably drop the main base. And if that cannon's not walled, it dies very quickly, right? Like you drop maybe like 1 Zealot and 3 DTs on top of it. You take out the cannon and you start working on the entire base, the probes, the pylons, all of that, while you threaten an attack on the other side at the same time. It's very hard to defend against, even though those players usually do a good job of that.
I gotta say, for all the things I feel like Goblin did well, he did just not really get his own economy rolling properly. He mentioned he wasn't building probes all the time, and that feels like it's affected him all the way through because Gerald's going to end up here just way ahead, and he's actually traded better overall too, so maybe some of these trades from Goblin, ones he shouldn't have committed so heavily for. And yeah, it just means that Gerald is sitting on a 20, 30-ish supply lead, depending when each player is warped in. Goblin's going to go through the middle of the map. I just don't. I mean, he shouldn't be the one looking for a fight though, because Gerald really does just have so much more.
Yeah, I think Goblin was looking to try and maybe catch the Stalkers on their own, because then if you have Stalkers plus Zealots, you can really do a number on them. But yeah, Zealots get caught on the left-hand side, and the supply gap is even widening now. Gerald, I think he's starting to realize how much more he has with this move out. This might actually be even like before his +2 finishes, but the +3 of Goblin hasn't completed yet. And yeah, the DT drop in the main base, this is what I was talking about. He takes out the cannon, there is no observer nearby.
Yeah, this is going to be really nice. DTs are going to cause chaos right now. They kind of look as though they might have been able to jump onto the Robo. They do not in the end, but Goblin's just losing the fight on the front as well. Goblin really ended up much further behind, and I feel like he should have been. Just something about, again, not as much economy as he maybe could have had, and definitely some of these fights were just a little bit less efficient for Goblin. I feel like that's okay, because what Goblin was doing was maybe fine to be a little bit less efficient, but he needed to then build the probes up behind it, and that's something he just did not do. And it's not like Gerald was killing like a whole bunch of workers or anything along those lines, right? It's not like his harassment was so good Goblin was just behind. It was Goblin's either choice to not build workers, or it was his lack of awareness of building workers. One of those two kind of killed him in this game.
What did I tell you about this DT drop? Well, it takes one to know one.
It was deadly, man. It set up the entire attack on the other side.
You know how many games I've stolen with that thing? With that little move here? A lot of them.
I don't even want to think, man. You know how many games I've had stolen from me with that move in PvP?
Hey, you're Terran. You got turrets and scans. You got no excuse, okay?
Yeah, but if they warp 10 DTs and I can turret and scan as much as I want, I still need my entire army there to kill them.
Yeah. That is very true, yeah.
That's a little disgusting. Oh, Gerald just needs a moment to get some water as he does go up 1-0. To be honest, if I kind of gotta be real here, this is kind of what I would have thought a game between Gerald and Goblin looks like. Goblin's a bit more of the aggressive side of things. Gerald's a bit more of the kind of overall more macro-focused guy. And then, like I said at the start, my head kind of said Gerald just was feeling the Goblin hype, and this is why Gerald just seems that little bit more all-round. And especially if Goblin doesn't get that early game advantage, it feels as though he's a little bit lost as to where to go next.
Yeah, like it seems like whichever Protoss is not as consistent with, making probes and macroing properly, you need to make your attacks work. And here, that really wasn't going to happen nearly as much. Like, yes, he kills, like I said, he killed 8 probes when he went for the blink timing before Gerald had blink. And he still was behind in workers behind it. So, I mean, yes, you can weaken the opponent's economy, but you still need to build your own. And you need to invest into the right coin on Coinbase, which is this is, I guess, the probe coin.
The probe coin. Invest now, and you'll have minerals forever. Yeah. 2,000 atmospheres for map 2. I actually really feel as well. The other thing I think about this series is it does have potential to go long, like these games. Like, Goblin and Gerald are both players who like to play carrier styles, and if they both see an opportunity to say, oh, I can start to build carriers here, I feel like both of them would take that. And then, obviously, if they're both doing that, this game can become very long on a map. Like 2,000 atmospheres that has a ton of bases. Gerald already played a game like this against Skillis on the B stream a few days ago, and that was like a 40+ minute game on Romantis side. 2,000 atmospheres is the other map alongside Romantis side. You may want to expect that on, so we'll see what happens as we dive on in. No DCs during the loading screen this time, so we can head straight into the upper right-hand corner where down a map, our red Protoss player from Team Roddy is Goblin.
His opponent in the blue, playing for Team Storms Gaming, it is Gerald. Dude, I love that. You're like, oh yeah, guys, by the way, we could see carriers here, both players like today. Do you know how smart you're gonna look if it happens, Waddy?
That's what you just say. No one will remember it if it doesn't. Everyone will remember it. I will make sure everyone remembers if it does.
That's the thing, yeah. High risk, high reward.
No, low risk, right? You know, we never bring it up again if it doesn't happen. It's just, you know, it goes under the rug. No one pays attention.
I don't know, actually, if they wouldn't.
Yeah. Maybe if it was like, okay, you know what it is? If it's like such a short game that people can still remember, like say someone cannon rushes and it just ends, people like, 40, lol, carriers, question mark. I think we've double gates already coming up. I feel safe. Apart from the fact now we've lingered on it, now everyone's gonna call me out. So yeah, you've made it high risk for me, Todd. It was low risk until you got involved.
I threw you under the bus on this one, but again, they go for it. I'm gonna be praising the hell out of you, Wally. Let me tell you. So full assimilator saturation here immediately from Goblin, 3 and 3. On the other side, we're doing 2 and 2. So perhaps the one to start some sort of tech a little quicker here. Usually that it tells me, you know, the chance of Stargate is pretty high, and that's what he's known for. And that's what he needs to make carriers also.
That's why he needs to make carriers. All right, well, as we get ourselves underway with 2 gates each, we'll see if anyone does an Adept opening instead of the Stalker opening. There is 2 Adepts from Gerald starting. I mean, that's basically the major change you would see here. It's definitely a map as well where we could actually see the sentries after Stalkers this time and going into that instead of the Stargate. So yeah, Gerald will have the Adepts to harass with in the early stages.
If Goblin loses here, I think it's just not his matchup at all, because that would be his 3rd loss in Mirror here in this group, which obviously is pretty terrible, but it's so tricky, right? Like, you have to play so many matches in one specific matchup, and it feels like, you know that the opponents are going to be watching every time that you play, so you have to keep on mixing in different builds or different things, otherwise they're going to adapt so well and counter that.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, the counterpoint to that is that at least in PvP, there is like a ton of different builds and stuff you can use, but then you've got to be comfortable with them all as well, and that...
Yeah.
And then that's the problem as well. If you're not comfortable, you know, if you switch build, you then have to be comfortable about all the variations your opponent could be going for too, right? And that's where PvP becomes very tricky to play, because there's just so many combinations. It's a little bit tough for sure.
It is going Stargate again, which Gerald, I'm sure, expected. Again, you know, it's Goblin. You expect the Stargate to be there a lot of the time. Look what he did. He went for a shield battery pretty quickly, and now he's going Twilight. So he's reacting to it exactly how he thinks he should, and I think he's right. Like, I mean, I like everything that Gerald's doing here with the Twilight probably going to be for Blink Stalkers yet again, and dropping the Robo immediately behind. So he's at least, you know, covering all of his bases. You wouldn't get surprised. You don't want to get surprised by some DTs here. It happened to Showtime, and I don't think it was a good experience against Cristiano.
I don't think anyone ever has a good experience when they get surprised by DTs. There's nothing fun about that, though. Yeah, Blink on the way up is definitely a just straight up solid setup. Goblin with the Oracles will try and put some damage out. Obviously, double Oracle. First one is actually going to be able to turn around those Adepts, which is kind of an added bonus of the Oracles. They can do well against the Adepts initially and actually stop them from just being on the map forever. In this case, 1 Adept recalls home. And
yeah, that was a sick beam, man.
Sick beam.
So he got up. Hey, he like you watch Star Trek? Energized. And he got out. He got beamed out.
Beamed out the last moment.
Okay, Goblin He's gonna know exactly what's happening here once he starts seeing the amount of stalkers and the blink on the way, so he can start reacting to it. And he finds 6 probe kills, not bad. But again, look, he hasn't been really making probes too well himself, so it's not like that puts him ahead. He's even in walkers.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's just it feels like you're shooting yourself in the foot. It's like, oh, congratulations, you did really well to find down to the oracles, and yet it doesn't really matter. And that's kind of crazy because, okay, the oracles are giving you good map control, but you know, you've then invested into them to do damage, which they've done, but you're still not taking the lead off of it. And now what do you have to show for it? Well, you're late on blink, you don't have a +1 upgrade started, so Gerald has all the upgrades in his favor.
Yeah, there's still this factor though, where if he can keep both oracles alive really well, then it's very hard for Gerald to ever move out, because then the oracles could fly in any moment and kind of wreck his mineral line. So that's something you can use to your advantage, and that we saw Showtime use really well. And yeah, like Goblin, the thing is, even when he finds damage, it feels like he's still only fighting to break even. Feels like one of my poker sessions.
Yeah, I've seen a few of them, Todd. Our Void right here as well, just Goblin kind of afraid, right? Just having to invest defensively wise and just sort of kind of just scraping along at the moment, and Gerald will feel confident he's going to have the map control of the Blink Stalkers already. I feel like it's quite brave for Goblin to drop the 3rd already. I feel like maybe he would be the player to delay it a little further, so we'll see if Gerald does anything about it. Doesn't look like he will. He's staying pretty passively at home. So,
yeah, that Void Ray patrolling on the right-hand side is also like really nice. Sometimes like someone's going to try to get fancy with like a prism or something. If you need it at the front, you can just bring it very quickly. We all love that F2, you know. And there's some more gates being added here for Goblin. It feels like the right thing for Goblin to do is to be greedier than Gerald, but not too greedy, just slightly, you know, like get a few probes ahead, build up your economy a little more, get those upgrades going really well, and then you're going to be fine. But Gerald's doing a good job keeping up right now, even already with the long distance mining on the 3rd base.
Yeah, the 3rd base is getting up and rolling, and charge on the way too, +2. It is setting up that neither player is really slowing down at all, right? You know, both of them are going full throttle into that kind of, you know, the next set of tech. We're not getting too caught up on Blink Stalker fights like we did last time. So I kind of like that. I think that's pretty fun. And I think that could be pretty promising for the future as well. So we do see some, just as I say, that Goblin is going to get a little bit aggressive with these Stalkers. The one thing I'm surprised about is that Gerald doesn't already have a battery on this base. It feels like that's something that players set up so far in advance nowadays, just in case your opponent's going for something that is focused around denying your 3rd.
Yeah, we got charge and +2 going on both sides, slightly ahead for Gerald right now. And I don't know why Goblin's playing this aggressive. Just sit back home, do the standoff-ish thing, you know, add more gates, but, you know, produce units, don't attack. And where's that fleet beacon? Where's the extra Stargates, Wally?
They're not here yet, so I mean, it's maybe a little bit too early, right? Maybe a little bit too soon. Give it a little while, you know? If this game continues like this and Goblin can't really break, we will probably get to a stage where he says, okay, fleet beacon it up. Maybe we go Disruptors first, but I feel like we could get there. I'm still believing.
Dude, I want them to go Kai so bad. It would be amazing. But yeah, they need to start adding more gases maybe first. Oh, we got Goblin. He took the ones on his 3rd base already, whereas Gerald didn't. And I think Goblin, he's seeing this right now actually with his oracles. And if you see that happening, you know that you're going to be quite a bit ahead gas-wise than the opponent. There is a big incentive for just going mass Zealots Archons and attacking. Because we talked about earlier how having, you know, 2 or 3 Archons extra than the opponent usually means that you're going to wreck him in the fight.
Yeah, Archons are so important because they just, the AoE they bring just clears out the Zealots, and otherwise the Zealots kind of run rampant, you know? So if you can clear out your opponent's Zealots first, and you just have a tanky, you know, front line that lasts longer, yeah, then you're probably going to have a good time in the fight for sure.
Goblin has 65 walkers against 57, so he's done a good job building that probe count very consistently. And now he's the one doing the long distance mining on the fourth base beforehand as well, just making sure that he doesn't have to pay much more attention to this anymore. A little bit surprised to not see Goblin take the assimilator, the second assimilator on the expo. Don't know if he forgot or if that's intentional.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those things where it's funny, right? Because it's like a base that you might not go back to think about now, right? So It's very possible. I guess we'll see. If he takes gases on the 4th base, then I'm convinced he's forgotten. But maybe right now he's happy on 5 gas. But it also feels though, as time goes by, why would you be happy on 5 gas in a game that's quite clearly going to start teching up, a little bit more heavily? Goblin has to get these stalkers out of here, and a few of them actually don't get caught in the recall, so they're going to have to keep on running. And Gerald will be able to give chase and actually clean up a couple.
Gerald, who's about even in supply with Goblin right now, he's the one going on the offensive. He caught the army out on the map. He saw that Goblin was out of position, so he gets on top of these probes. He's gonna kill so many of them before the proper engagement actually takes place. But all of the zealots of Gerald are stuck at the top, so the rest of his army, the squishier part, is at the bottom fighting on their own.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, these 2 Archons just aren't doing much. Now the Stalkers have to come in from a weird angle. Like, again, the jump on this was nice, but then he got forced into a much worse fight than what he wanted to be in. And Gerald is actually the one who loses a lot of army there. And maybe Goblin can just immediately move across the map with that knowledge, knowing that he's got a pretty good chance to just do some serious damage if he goes to the other side.
Gerald recalled a single Archon, by the way. Do you see that? He was at the back of the minerals. He's like, there is no way I'm wiggling out of this one. Help, please. And actually got recalled. But yeah, now we got Goblin ahead in supply. I don't know if he knows that there is Disruptor on the way, but it almost feels like this is an anti-timing here, as he doesn't want to let Gerald reach that.
Yeah, I mean, Disruptors are something you always want to end the game before if you can, because the moment that Disruptor's out is the moment you just start taking so much damage when you're trying to be the aggressor. So if he feels like he's got an advantage, he definitely just wants to go as soon as possible, because even just the chance that there are Disruptors on the way up, it's not unreasonable to think there would be. It's just a reason to kind of, go. And he's also got +3 against +2. Yeah. So I think that's obviously a big selling point right now for Goblin to take a fight. The fact that he's just got an upgrade lead, so it should naturally be good for him.
It's so hard to engage into an area like this, though, because your units, they might block themselves. And then if the Zealots clump up too hard against the Archons, they're going to get wrecked. He sees one Disruptor. Goblin hopes that Gerald will lose patience and move out and engage into him. That's where he will take the fight, with like a good concave, a good preset position. But Gerald, too smart to fall for this. He's just going to sit back knowing that he's doing the right thing. He's going for Disruptors, and he hasn't seen any from his opponent yet. So Goblin's trying to go around, but whichever way he attacks into, it's always so dangerous. It's all about the engagement, it feels like.
It is all about the engagement. That's why Goblin's so careful about it. Pulling back, respreading his units after kind of, starting to attack in. Doesn't want to be the aggressor too quickly. We do see Gerald now dropping down that Dark Shrine, so thinking about the future in terms of setting up some harassment. And we'll add on an additional robo as well. I mean, if you can build Disruptors twice as quickly, typically that's only going to be a good thing. Goblin really does want to fight, though, and he's going to go in now. Problem with this is the first Disruptor shot only hits the sentry. Big problem with this is that he doesn't have the upgrade advantage anymore that he had previously. So as he fights on in, it goes disastrously. I mean, I liked the concept of the fight he set up, just he should have done that 2 minutes ago if he wanted to do this, because now there was Disruptors, the upgrades were even, and now Gerald just continues to charge on forward. He's got so many Zealots left. A couple of Goblins, Archons that were just morphing there get killed off instantly as well. They get a single shot off. Yeah, this was disastrous for Goblin, and Gerald might just walk across the map for the 2-0 with that.
Yeah, his supply really plummeted. Gerald's 40 supply ahead now. He's going for the kill. He's across the map, and he's got way too much. Gerald gets the win here after some very clever play. Like, he just defended the way he needed